just to make sure that this is capturing me from the very beginning. So I'm just going to have like a little bit of a killer intro there. What's up, guys? I realize it's been a long time since I streamed, and to be honest with you, I had to sort of stop that because sometimes I couldn't really control my time quite as well. And as much fun as they are, I always felt bad that I either had to end them when the conversation was getting good, or I simply was not in the physical shape for them, meaning struggling with my allergies, so on and so forth. So tonight, I'm not feeling my greatest, but I'm going to try to not let that hinder me. So if I look and or sound a little trippy here and there, don't be shocked. I am dealing with a little something something. But anyways, so it occurred to me that when I was a teen, I had a tendency of describing myself as a tomboy. And I honestly cannot say that I was very familiar with that term. I just knew that it meant that I had like boyish tendencies, but I wasn't someone who did not like men or boys. So, not to be mistaken for any struggles with like my preferences, nothing like that. So, I remember asking a friend, hey, I need a word that describes me as enjoying the stuff that guys do more than what is traditionally associated with girls, but that doesn't mean that I like swing the other way because that's fucking disgusting. So a friend of mine finally said, "Oh, you may just be a tomboy." And I'm like, it didn't occur to me to label myself as such. So in retrospect, I feel like I should revisit that since it's not really a topic that I have formally gone over here. And I will go through a series of lists from different websites to aid me at describing myself, or I guess diagnosing myself as such. And then I'll let you guys know if that is something that I can relate to or I cannot relate to. So let's get started. I am currently on BuzzFeed, which is a wonderful source for this type of stuff. So let's see what they have to say. You spent any downtime you had playing video games or watching boy cartoons, quote unquote. That is true for me, absolutely true for me, because when I was a kid, up until the end of my teenage years before I got a job, my hobbies were that. It was collecting action figures, Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, things like that. You guys know what I'm into, so I'm going to save all that. And video games, I had an N64, a GameCube, which unfortunately I got my GameCube toward the end of my childhood in a sense. So I haven't really had much exposure to it because I kind of ran out of childhood to be able to play with it responsibly, you know? So had that, had the first PlayStation, the PS2, and that was pretty much where I stopped in 2014 until eventually my brother moved in and he brought his PS4, and then I tried some of those games back in 2018. So if it weren't for him, I would still be out of touch with video games. So that is one thing that I sort of have to thank him for, because otherwise it wouldn't have brought any of this on my radar. And I remember transitioning into current gen video game mechanics was just something extraordinary for me. And I had the toughest time in the beginning, but I guess it doesn't help that I skipped the PS3 and went straight into the fourth one. And I knew that was going to be bad because I kept seeing what other people would do online with the console. And I said, I have no idea how I would make that work. So anyway, and then when it comes to boy cartoons, I watched anime a lot. So Dragon Ball Z, Rurouni Kenshin, Pokemon, and I guess Dexter's Lab may be considered a boyish cartoon. I also watched Teen Titans, Justice League, stuff like that. Gargoyles. So yeah, you could classify me as someone who watched the more boy cartoons. So yeah, that is absolutely true. And then some of the video games that I would play, of course, involved things like Zelda, Mortal Kombat, Dragon Ball, of course, Need for Speed Underground, and I also used to watch Power Rangers, which they are girl rangers. So can you really say that that is not a female show as well, inclusive? I'll let you guys decide. But yeah, I was undoubtedly someone who more often than not gravitated toward those types of things. I was never into like fashion things, makeup things, fashion shows, or like beauty pageants. Like, I tried when I was in high school and I was taking a Spanish class. Everybody kept talking about this one network that plays here in the States. And they said, if you want to practice your listening skills, go ahead and watch this channel. And then, because this was during the spring season, they had this show where it was like selecting some kind of beauty pageant winner so that this girl would end up with like an exclusive contract or something like that. It's been so long, I don't remember. So then I said, you know what, this is a very good exercise because it's a language that happens to be all around us. So why not learn a little bit of it, start practicing it? And yeah, so that's one of those things that it served its educational purpose. But while watching it, I thought, I think the only thing that's keeping me engaged about this game or this show, sorry, is the fact that I'm practicing a language. But outside of that, it's like, this is not my kind of topic. And unfortunately, any other time in the evening or in the nighttime, that TV that we had was usually occupied by like my mom tuning into the news or something that she liked. So it sort of gave me only a small window to be able to explore this stuff. So whatever show I was able to catch on this channel, that's all that I got. And during this season, it happened to be that beauty pageant thing. So it was a mental challenge when it comes to engagement, but also, you know, like developing your language skill. So regardless, I'm still grateful for it. But yeah, I definitely would say that when it comes to choosing the theme of my video games, like Devil May Cry, that is definitely a boy inclined franchise. So those were my types of games: guns, swords, espionage, you name it. That's what I was into. But anything that's more like fairy tale stuff, no, no. Cheerleading never made much sense to you. So you don't play the sports, you just watch them. Why? So for me personally, unfortunately, when I was a child, I was not very athletic, and that's one of the things that I regret. Only because I wish that, given my amount of energy and how much I love to be moving, and I like to do things that challenge me physically and mentally, I find it that, or I find that if I would have been involved in a sport, that would have nourished my soul in the way that I needed. But that was not something that was really available for me. Or I guess I never expressed enough interest in such a thing for my mom to have considered it. But without a doubt, I would have been into gymnastics because I've always been like that flexible kid, always trying to be an escape artist, always trying to reach for things, figure out ways to maneuver amongst tight spaces, or just name it. I was always that freaking kid exploring places. So I feel like gymnastics would have helped not only develop my strength and body and stamina and all that, but I loved acrobatic things. And now that I'm older, I'm looking at it like, man, I missed out on that big time. And that is the one sport that it doesn't really involve competition that is direct with someone else. It's like I have to perform a routine. It's like a show, a form of art that I put together, and I just have to physically execute it, as opposed to dancing, which requires, you know, like you have to listen to music and kind of go with the beat. Gymnastics has its own aspect of you following, I guess, a song or something like a floor routine. But when it comes to the athleticism, gymnastics is undoubtedly much more challenging than being a dancer, unless you're really breaking it down, you know, when it comes to dancing. But the acrobatic aspect is what really drew me. So when it comes to cheerleading, that was without a doubt one of the sports that I wanted to do. And I wanted to try out for it when I was in middle school, but unfortunately, the financial resources were not there. So I didn't even try. But also, would I have been too old for that to start in middle school? Possibly. I'm not sure. But one of the things that killed me is that I just wasn't athletic. And every time I would be in a PE class and they tried to make you run a lap around a baseball field or football field, I would be that one fucking kid who would be last place, and catching my breath was a matter of life and death for me. That's how out of shape I was. So, I cheerleading did not make sense when I was a kid, but eventually I learned to sort of appreciate it as a form of art. But at the same time, I feel like it's one of those things that we could definitely do without, because the cheerleaders are not really aiding the team that they're cheering for. You're just like a model, but you're not giving, say, football players a competitive competitive edge in any way. So why are you even there? That's what I like to know. So I guess that's kind of true. Cheerleading didn't make sense, but I could respect the element of gymnastics that's involved in cheerleading. And ruffles and bows were your enemy. Definitely. I was never someone who dressed like that. And the caption here says, I am not a cake. That's funny. But yeah, when it comes to accessories, I kept it basic. All I need is earrings, the occasional bracelet, and a necklace here and there. But outside of that, with my hair, you've never seen me with a bow. Um, Tying it is something that's occasional, primarily during the hot weather, of course, for obvious reasons. But I was never really someone who was all wowed by those types of things. So definitely, they were my enemy, and also because I was a very hyper person, and to this day I still am, I don't like to have that accessory to be worrying about, you know? Um, let's see. You were generally found covered in dirt and or grass stains. That one is somewhat true. And it's only somewhat true because as a kid, I would focus more on being indoors playing video games, but mom sometimes would be a little pushy and encourage me to go outside and move around, ride my bike and stuff. So it is kind of true, but in a sense, I was a little bit of a diva when it came to my hygiene. I did not like feeling dirt on my skin. I didn't like to see grass either on my clothes or on my skin and stuff. And don't even get me started on my hair. I didn't like to have sand on my hair, dirt on my hair, bugs in my hair, leaves in my hair, just none of that. So this one, from the perspective of I don't mind to go out on a hike type of deal, it's true. But you typically finding me looking like I just came back from the wilderness, not true, not at all. So that one, let's go with I disagree. That's not me. Barbies weren't something you played with. Oh my goodness gracious. That is so True. Every single one of my Barbies I utilized as a wrestling action figure. I would make them bitches fight each other because that's another thing that I was into. I was into wrestling when I was a kid. And to this day, occasionally I may catch up with some of it while I'm on the treadmill at the gym or something. Or maybe something funny happens and then there's a clip circling around and I just catch up with it and I'm like, okay, yeah, it was funny, it's cool, but honestly, after the 90s, early 2000s, wrestling kind of lost me. So, I don't know. And on top of that, the stars that I knew are either dying, dead, or retired. So, what can I say? I feel like it's one of those things where my childhood is over. So just like my childhood is over, these folks also have had their season and they're retiring. I'm not saying that wrestling is something for children, not at all. But what I'm saying is that my season to indulge in that stuff was when I was a kid. I had the time, the interest, but now it's different. But definitely, Barbies were not my toys at all. And I felt bad when someone would give me Barbies because I wanted to reject it and be like, no, don't get me Barbies, get me action figures. But, you don't want to be that rude child. A toy is a toy. But I was never happy to unwrap a gift and be like, oh, it's a motherfucking Barbie. Fantastic. And my mom actually says that she was the happiest woman on earth when she found out that I didn't like Barbies because she kind of demonized them. She thought that it was like a bad influence on girls, to a certain extent, because it seemed to limit what your perception of the world should be and say, look at Barbies, like their dimensions are not like realistic, their hair and stuff, it wasn't, they weren't speaking to me. There was no Barbie with curly hair. There was no Barbie that just spoke to me. And even if there were, it was just a feminine toy. It's not something I was interested in. So none of my Barbies have made it into my adulthood. And what can I say? There was only one Barbie that I saw until a few years ago that it used to have like it was a sleeping themed Barbie. She had like her little pajamas on and there was no way that you could really play with her in any other way because this pajamas was like stitched to her. But for some reason, I think it was because of the person who gave it to me. Maybe it was my cousin who gave it to me. I don't really remember now, but I just remember that as a child, I had an attachment to that Barbie because of whom gave it to me. But yeah, absolutely. I did not have a collection of Barbies. My collection was Dragon Ball Z figures. Because you were usually outside playing with real toys. So number 5 is tied in with number 6. Um, and when it comes to playing outside, most of the stuff I did was ride a skateboard while sitting on it because I could never stand on it. Or ride my bicycle, play with my dog, or spend time with animals. I always liked to help stray cats, especially. And I ended up adopting like 9 of them, not all simultaneously. It was like this year I had this cat, next year I had another, 6 months after I had another, so on and so forth. It's like all of my cats had their seasons. It was either they hung out, they were all outdoor cats, so they either stayed or eventually they left or maybe they died and I just never found out. But yeah, I had my time when I would be outdoors doing that type of thing. But I would keep it very brief just so that I could go back to, you guessed it, my video games. The whole two-piece swimsuit movement was never for you. Absolutely. And honestly, when it comes to this one, I have a little bit of a tough relationship with, and it's because I never felt like I had that kind of body. And in addition, not only that, because I don't think my body should be an object to exhibit, but I also found it improper. I like to be reserved, traditional, that type of thing. So two-piece swimming suits felt silly for me because I thought, why not just get on the beach with like a really old, worn out bra and maybe some underwear that I don't care for? What would be the difference? So now, of course, I understand that the material is more favorable for when it gets wet and stuff, but I really could have gone my whole life without a swimming suit of any sort. But when it comes to that two-piece swimming suit, I always thought it made me uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable to see other people wearing it, regardless of body shape, but also it made me feel weird that I'm showing too much. And I feel like my intimacy should be that intimate. So why, if a swimming suit would be inappropriate in a setting outside the beach, why would I make the beach an exception? So I'm also not into tanning, therefore it just never made any sense. It would have never been compatible with my personality or interests anyway. And in addition, I really value my skin, so the more I cover it up when I'm under the sun, the better. And even when I used to go to an indoor pool, you would have never caught me wearing something that wasn't a t-shirt or long sleeves or like a bathing suit, but on top of it, I had more clothes and swimming trunks. Boy, swimming trunks. Um, let's see. And you loved sports because who wouldn't? Interestingly enough, I liked what happens during sports. Like, I like observing basketball. I like to see skills, technique. I like to watch gymnastics, of course. Occasionally, I can admire swimming, surfing, skateboarding, especially volleyball, tennis. But it's not like, wow, I gotta be there cheering for a team. I'm really keeping up with the scores. I'm on track of the rules and all that. No, absolutely not. I would be into sports just for the sake of watching what the human body can do. Like your physical capability and your technique. But it wasn't about me being excited about the strategy going into the game because of the rules. It's like, no, this person can throw a ball into a goal or something. That's pretty freaking awesome. This person can swim multiple laps, I guess, and make it. That's freaking awesome. Or something like tennis. This person has a good coordination to hit a freaking ball with a racket and make it go over some net. Great. But I personally was never into the actual like rule book of these sports. So if you're saying I was into sports because of what it meant to be into sports, which is like the physical activity, sure. But if you're talking about playing by the rules and understanding the game and arming a strategy and stuff, no, not at all. You wore a lot of boy clothes. Absolutely. And to this day, I still do. The only difference is that as opposed to wearing tops and bottoms that belong to men, now my kryptonite is leggings. And my tops, I want to say that at least 3 times per week, I wear a top that may be considered masculine, or it may come from the men's section. And the reason was simple. My favorite color was navy, and normally the women's section did not feature those kinds of shirts. Additionally, the women's section, the fit of shirts was different. Like most female clothes tend to be very fitted. And me personally, I had the problem of when I would gain weight, it's not like going up a size helped me. Like my body is just not usually available to be dressed from the women's section. And the men's clothes always fit me in the waist that I wanted, which is loose. And then women clothes usually were either too tight around the abdominal area, but because it tends to be tailored for big busts sometimes, I definitely am not busty at all. So it was difficult for me to find clothes that looked right on my freaking body shape. So so with women's clothes, they also didn't feature the things that I was interested in. Say, if there was a graphic, it usually had flowers. I'm not into flowers, or it had just really girly themes, fruits, vegetables, whatever. I was into like Dragon Ball, Street Fighter. Those were the types of things that I would want to wear. Fortunately, now is a good time to have those interests because even in the women's section, you can find stuff that's tailored for you and includes those themes. But when I was growing up and when I was a teen, I had to be on the men's section more often than not. And when it comes to pants, I was always a big fan of like the swimming trunks kinds of pants or the basketball shorts kinds of pants. And the women's section never really had those. The kinds that they had would be the running shorts that would show like half of my thigh, or some of them would be like really, really, really short. So I personally do not like to show leg when I'm out in public. I always wear at the very, very, very minimum capri length. But the stuff that I was seeing, I'm spitting so much, it's so gross. But I was wearing full length pants for the longest time. And that's when I discovered that that's the kind of thing that made me feel the most comfortable. So, shorts, it's something that, unless it's something extremely like it is a safety thing that I wear shorts, you will never catch me wearing shorts outside of my house. And when it comes to leggings, they still have to be capri length at the very least. And slowly but surely, I have been getting rid of my capri length leggings, and I'm opting more for cropped or absolutely full length. It's just my preference. Absolutely what makes me feel the happiest. And when it comes to jackets and coats, for the longest time, I was buying them from the men's section because, again, they had my favorite colors: navy, dark gray, so on and so forth. Whereas the women's section always had the more pastel colors, your pinks, your yellows, your oranges. I don't need that buffoonery. I want dark clothes. Period. And as far as matching clothing, well, probably wasn't gonna happen. This is somewhat true. I like to not dress like a clown necessarily, but I like to at least look neat. Even if my combination is not perfect, I am always proud of what I'm wearing. So my leggings are always going to be on point. They're always going to be the most outstanding aspect of me because I'm very picky about them. I would say that my shoes tend to look better than my top. I don't care what's going on, like on my top area, but my shoes and my leggings are always on point. They may not necessarily match, but I usually get complimented on the shoes that I wear. So I'm very confident there. But outside of that, when it comes to picking a top, to me, that is the most difficult part of me getting ready. And when it comes to like undergarments, they never ever match. When they match, it's like a miracle because I'm not thinking about matching them. But even if I were, the pieces that I own are not part of a set. So even if I were deliberately trying to match things, I would have to shop keeping that in mind. Like, do I have a red bra? I really don't. Do I have like a navy bra? I don't either. So even if I were to find things that are that color would I find the matching shade. For undergarments, why would I stress over that? It's not like anybody is like inspecting that, you know? So that's something that I definitely did not pay attention to. So far I'm at pretty much 90% in agreement with this list. And my stupid page crashed, so let me try to relaunch it. Pink wasn't really your color. Oh my freaking god. Yes, this is absolutely true. To this day, I still don't opt for wearing pink. About 4 years ago, I started to slowly but surely try to introduce pink into my wardrobe because I would really go out of my way to not own anything that is pink. I just didn't like it. I found it to be an obnoxious shade. And eventually, somehow, I was receiving gifts that had pink in it, and I thought, I don't know if mentally I'm evolving or something, but I find that it doesn't trigger me as much as when I was a kid. So I cannot say that I love the color pink, but I cannot say that I hate it anymore because I have been buying pink leggings, pink t-shirts, but it's not like, wow, my entire planet can be pink now, right? My gym bag is also pink, and it took everything in me to deliberately hit that buy now button because I thought what I really want is navy and gray, but let me really try to do something different. And I actually very happily grabbed my gym bag, and I feel confident about the color that I have selected now. But as a kid, like I was telling someone the other day, you would not have seen me owning anything pink at all. So this is true. You became incredibly confused if someone asked you if you were hanging out with a boy because you had a crush on him. This is absolutely true because, as you guys know, you probably found me because of one of my little videos, but I have always been tighter with the guys. Why? Because my interests, as you have heard throughout this exchange, well, not really an exchange since I'm by myself, but like during this video, my interests tend to align more with what the guys are doing. That's not my freaking fault. That's not their fault. It's just genuinely what makes me feel happy. So I'm not going to be hanging out with girls and have nothing to say or nothing relatable and then just feel like what I am, a fucking outcast. Like someone who doesn't belong there. Why would I do that to myself? So, occasionally there was the one clown who would be like, oh, look, Zam is dating so and so, they're always together. And this is the guy who's like the shyest, the most insecure, the least interested in relationships, so on and so forth. And I'm thinking, well, if that's what you want to think, go ahead and think what you want. What matters is that him and I know what is going on in here and what is not going on in here. And yeah, but fortunately, all of the men who surround me respect me, so it's not like I have had to like defend myself much in this regard. And usually I'm the queen of ignoring ignorant bullshit. So as long as the party that's accompanying me understands that and rolls with me, then we're fine. But if they don't know how to handle situations like that, then it's possible that that would have given problems. Bath time was your personal hell. When I was a kid, this was true. I definitely always found bath time like an inconvenience, which is a little bizarre because even as a kid, I was a little bit of a germaphobe. So why was I hating the water, but yet if I touched something that felt weird, I was washing my hands? I think what made it suck so bad was the days when I had to wash my hair, all those extra steps, spending extra time in the bathroom. I want to say that was the part that made me feel trippy about it. And the fact that I could anticipate that my mom was getting ready to brush my hair, and her brushing my hair felt like she was ripping my epidermis with my hair follicles, along with brain tissue, my imagination, my thoughts, my nightmares. So I always associated grooming time as outright unpleasant. So if you're suffering through something, you are very unlikely to associate it as something that's fun and positive, right? So that was pretty much me with bath time. But now that I'm grown, I appreciate taking showers, but I try to keep them brief. And on the days that I have to do everything like wash hair and shave legs, I try to do one thing on one day and another thing on another day so that I don't have to spend more than 40 minutes in the bathroom. But occasionally something happens to where I have to do both of those things at the same time. And that is when I get a little bit desperate and I may breeze through one or the other. But yeah, I want to say that I grew out of that one. I want to say that I really appreciate shower times, especially when I have my music and stuff set up. But when I was a kid, yeah, it was not my time at all. You refused to wear dresses and had to be literally forced into it. Absolutely, yes, when I was a kid. Because I just outright thought that dresses were ugly. And remember, I am a hyperactive ass person. You are making a person who's like more, what is it, hyper inclined to be wearing something that's not suitable for you to be like horse playing around and running around, and especially after a rainstorm you're out in the dirt and stuff. So during social functions, I never could sit still. It always frustrated me. And even when I was a kid, I definitely had my social anxiety tendencies. So I did not like to be in parties with crowds and stuff, especially on my birthday, because you're the center of attention. And I like to conduct my life bringing as little attention to myself as possible. So to be forced into a dress, and on top of that, I am like the life of the party because I'm the one who celebrated, but I am antisocial. Yeah. And then people would approach me and try to make girly comments about my dress, about my shoes and stuff. And I just didn't know how to respond to compliments or how to respond to those kinds of things because it's just not something that I was practicing and it's not something that I was interested in. So, yes, I refused dresses left and right, but of course, as a child, you don't have any goddamn rights. So, I had to just push through that miserable time and comply and wear the dresses. And all of my childhood pictures are embarrassing because I rebelled while I was wearing the dresses. I said, "Oh, so you made me wear a dress when I wasn't supposed to because I wanted to be outside playing with dogs and cats and everything? Well, here you go, boom, ruined dress." And that was the worst part too, like being told, "Hey, you're going to be wearing this, it's delicate. Make sure that you sit still." Like, no, fuck that. I'm here to have fun. So that was one of those things that made me be a difficult daughter, I guess. But listen to me. If I say that I don't want something, then don't force it on me. And that way we won't have any issues. But you fucking didn't. So you have to suffer the consequences. Because I know for sure I was not suffering any consequences. You never dressed up like a princess on Halloween. Absolutely true. I have never dressed up like a princess. The closest thing I have done to looking like a damn princess is when I purchased my little tiara and earrings and I showed you guys about it. But outside of that, me wearing a fantasy dress or a fairy tale anything, fairy tale theme anything, fuck no. Um, Wearing regular bras wasn't really your thing. I only wear sports bras. So by regular bras, if you mean like the type that you see in the intimate wear section with like the cup and the spaghetti strap and the little thingies adjusters in the back, absolutely not. The bra that I need is one that's like elasticy, and I just, what is it, like a pullover hoodie. I just slide it and the elastic, it does its thing. I don't need to be wasting time playing around with the adjuster thing, or like putting the bra on me with the back on the front so that I could clip the adjusters and then spin it and then bring the cup and the strap over. Fuck that. I'm just someone who moves quickly, and this accessory is not making me move quickly. So sports bras, not only are they more comfortable, but they're easier to put on and take off, and I'm all about the ease. So absolutely true. Now, I don't resent the fact that I cannot wear bras, because in a sense, having a bra is pretty comfortable. It keeps like this mess. It keeps them from like moving and it feeling awkward and stuff. And on top of that, it can also help minimize the effects of nipplegate, which is absolutely disgusting in my opinion. And I hate the times when I cannot control it. And a little bit maybe noticeable. But I also like the sensation of having that on me. Tank tops, not so much, but like having like a crop top kind of feeling, a fitted garment underneath the garment that I have on the outside, I think that's really like cool. But yeah, I feel like even if I had like a flat upper body, maybe I would try to wear bras regardless. But yeah, definitely, I agree with that. Shopping was a form of punishment. Yes, and to this day, it still is. The only stuff I shop for are my absolute essentials: food, fast food, gas, the occasional trip to the restaurant, and online shopping for leggings. That is all. That's it. And as a child, I absolutely hated going to the mall. Absolutely. And when I was a teen, it was even worse. But now that I'm older, I have developed a little bit of an appreciation for going out to buy things, because I am my own time manager. I can spend as little or as much time in a place as I want to, and I don't have the influence of anybody. Because let me tell you, one of the things that made shopping suck was when whoever was your chaperone, say mom, grandma, an aunt, whatever, they're so heavily opinionated. And it's never about what I like and what I want. It's always about what their idea is. They are the ones who know. They are the ones who are older. They are the ones who have the style that's most suitable. So, in a sense, I felt like I was deprived of exploring my personality when I was younger. So now that I'm older and I have the power and resources to make my own choices and make them free of any influences, either positive or negative, I have started to enjoy it. Like, window shopping for leggings is amazing for me. I don't necessarily spend time trying things on unless I do intend to buy. But outside of that, if I'm going, say, to Walmart to pick something up from like the cleaning section or something, I can walk right by the clothing section and not look at any of that. Even though I know that there's leggings there, it's like, we're cool. I don't need to look at that. Now, if I am actively looking for new clothes, then I will stop by and take a minute or two. But usually, stuff like that, I am a very fast shopper. I go in there with a plan and I spend no more than 10 minutes doing my shopping. The only thing that makes me have a delay is lines at the registers. But if I'm in full control of everything, everything gets done fast. You don't even know I was there. Or I may not even know that you were there. Sometimes that's the way it goes. And things became really confusing as you grew up and your friends got into makeup. Yes! One of the things that I hated was being a child and people encouraging me to wear makeup. Like, mom always tried to powder up my face and cover my eyebrow scar. and do all those little things, put on a little bit of lipstick, and I thought it was so fucking goofy. And in the end, you guessed it, especially in the summertime, I would end up looking like an absolute disaster because my face would get itchy, and then I would be told, oh, don't scratch your face. And then I'm like, but what am I supposed to do? I'm uncomfortable. So I said, man, one day I'm going to have the power, absolute power, to do what I want when I want it, and only I will decide what happens and what doesn't happen. And nobody will ever make me get into a dress that I don't want to, or paint my face when I don't want to. And it was the most liberating thing in the world and the happiest I've been. So when I see other people with their makeup trends and stuff, it's like, I am a 5 minute woman, but you have to take 2 fucking hours to do just your face or whatever it is that you people do. I am happy that I do not relate with any of y'all. And I don't want for this to be misinterpreted as I think that my way of living is superior to theirs. Clearly, this is important for them. But if you're doing this, make sure that you're doing it because you genuinely love it, and don't become that fucking woman who starts saying things like, oh man, this society is brutal because I have to spend so much time getting my hair done and putting on makeup and stuff. And I'm like, stop lying. You're doing this because it's something that you want to do. Nobody is actively out there telling you, do this and do that. Unless it is another woman in your life. Because the only people ever who tell me I need to wear makeup or I need to get my hair done is other women. And I'm thinking, why are you trying to inculcate me with the stuff that you like and makes you happy, but you're not listening to me when I tell you that that shit is not what I like and it's not what makes me happy. So stop trying to influence me. So I demonized makeup the moment people were trying to convince me and coerce me into wearing it, using it when I did not like it. I do not like the sensation of my pores being clogged, for example. And I also do not like the tediousness of it. Like, oh my God, my eyeliner has to be this and that, my lipstick. No, fuck that. I value freedom. And if I have animals to go roll out in the grass with, I am going to, with or without makeup. So, as an adult, I have only tried to wear makeup 2 times. And that was back in 2014, early 2015 ish. And after that, not a single drop of makeup has touched my skin. And I have been so happy. Yeah, you may have been a tomboy, but you wouldn't have it any other way. That is absolutely true. So yeah, you guys, I'm going to stop right here because I feel like this one went over the points that were most compelling and relevant to me. I will explore other articles on the side and see if any of them mention something that's substantial, but I can say that I agreed with all of those points, and maybe 2 of those points I had to like give it a little bit of a tweak to tell you how it is that it fit me. But in a sense, I was in agreement with it. I think the cheerleader one was the one that I could be like, mostly untrue for me, but I can find a way to make it be sort of true. So yeah. So yeah, I would say that I agreed with this 95%. And I do feel like tomboy was the proper label for me growing up until maybe, shoot, maybe as recently as 3 years ago. Only then did I begin to go like, let me try finding sporting gear in the women's section. It also helped that I was in a much better shape too. Like, I was losing weight. I was just overall looking and feeling the transformation, both physically and mentally, emotionally here and there. I knew that some things about me would not change, such as, say, even though I hate my hair, I'm not obsessed with straightening it, or say, even though I don't like makeup, I'm still gonna try to force myself into practicing it and learning it and concealing whatever flaws I may have. It's like, no, I'm going to age gracefully, whether it be a good aging process or a really bad one because I don't sleep and I'm stressed and all that stuff and my diet has been bad. Whatever, I will accept the consequences of all of my choices. And at least I can say that my skin gets to breathe 24 hours a day. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in or catch up with me whenever it is that you do. And I'll